I miss when WoW was just a game.
I miss when World of Warcraft was just a game to me. In fact, I missed when most games were just games. I was reminded of this last night while playing Quest 64, an old Nintendo 64 game. There's barely any direction, there's no objectives, and there's a ton of rooms and corridors and hallways that just lead nowhere. It annoyed
Quest 64 is a game that I always wanted to play based off the cover, but I never had the option to buy it, so I always missed out on it. But it always looked like a delightful game.
me at first. I would say stuff like, why would the developers put that there if it has no purpose? Or I'd say something like, that's bad game design. But then I did some reflection. There was a day before good game design, when games weren't designed to keep you engaged or keep your dopamine levels high or give you constant breadcrumb rewards. There was a day when they were just games, to play without purpose just for fun. Almost like playing pretend when you were a kid. So why did the developers put that empty hallway there? Well, because someone may just want to explore around for fun.
Bethesda used to be really good at this. They used to have a lot of, oh, well, I'm just kind of curious what's over there, so I'm going to go check it out. And every game and anybody that's ever played a side scroller has always tried to go left just to check, to make sure that there's nothing over there real quick before they start going right, like every side scrolling game works as. But I love when games know that players like to explore. So they put a little Easter egg in random spots, just knowing that, hey, maybe a player is going to find this someday. Because that's going to be something that people remember and they want to come back to.
How about that? Playing a game for the fun of it. I used to feel the same way about World of Warcraft. Nowadays, I care about item levels, I care about rating, I care about new content and the best talent builds and the top classes and the top specs and the next patch and the buffs and the nerfs. And even Blizzard seems to have adapted to this style of thinking, making every new zone and raid high octane and high priority in the storyline. There's no time anymore to just relax and play.
Well, also, if you want to be in a guild that does these raids, half the time they won't let you in unless you're optimized and have certain gear levels and all that crap. I used to just play around in WoW and just like riding around and exploring and crafting. And it was so damn delightful. That's not really a thing anymore. I like games where it's more about exploration and freedom.
It wasn't always like this. When I first started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, I was a dwarf warrior and I had no clue what I was doing. But I did know one thing. I loved being engrossed in the world. I would go into every building in Ironforge just to look around and think how cool it might be to just hang out here with friends and talk. Not questing, not leveling, not gearing, just hanging out in a cool secluded place in Ironforge talking about life. Same thing for this random building in Orgrimmar. I barely made it to level 20 on that first character, but I probably explored most of the entire world map, and I can still remember the awe I felt when I accidentally stumbled into the burning steppes by walking through the broken gate in the north of Red Ridge Mountains. And
everybody did that, at least if you were on Alliance. I usually played Alliance characters, but that's just because I liked the Alliance cities a lot more. I felt like they were more enjoyable for me. But that being said, you could just go and explore and have some fun. Now you got to optimize. You got to make sure you have the best builds. And it's partially ruined by things like streaming and competitive gameplay and how easy it is to access what's the best. Because I remember going over to friends' houses and playing like things like Call of Duty. You know, it used to not be this insanely competitive thing where you can't play online for more than 2 seconds unless you've trained and had a crap ton of practice in first-person shooters. Like I used to be able to play on any random matchmaking, do okay. I wouldn't be like dominating or anything, but I'd do okay. I'd be able to at least have some fun. Now, if I don't know like some crazy button combo, like how they're building stuff in Fortnite to insane degrees, like you can't just enjoy the game anymore. Even if it's remotely competitive in any way, shape, or form, the competition level has just skyrocketed and it takes away all the fun.
suddenly I arrived in Fire and Brimstone. Seeing the blackened, smoky sky and the lava pouring from the mountains was amazing, and seeing the creatures and dragons that roamed the land made me excited to eventually come back and quest here, which I never did. Oops. But I do still remember that feeling, the wonder and the awe at every zone and every turn. And now I'm so familiar with every zone that I gotta admit I'm pretty killer at WoW GeoGuessr. So that begs the question, is this just a nostalgia thing? And I don't think so, as Classic WoW and Season of Discovery in particular still have their moments of invoking wonder in me more so than modern WoW. And I think,
Well, modern WoW, you just think about the early game. I can't go and explore in retail WoW. I have to go through like the very designated tutorial where you are just locked in and you can't do anything else. And by the time you're out of there, you are bombarded with click here, do this, do that, click here. You have all these indicators. You're barraged with information and you don't have any choice in the matter other than turning off the game or just powering through. And you wind up with 30 levels by the time you finish the tutorial and you're like, what the hell just happened? I haven't really like grown as a player or actually experienced anything. I've just been bombarded with notifications.
I think what it comes down to is the idea of a game being just that, a game. The process of not needing to follow an ideology of good game design or retention practices or meaningful progression systems or balance. In the many empty buildings in each capital city, I feel the echoes of players and guilds that came before and probably hung out within their walls chatting in-game rather than using something like Discord to do voice chat. And even beyond the capital cities, there are empty vistas in areas of the game that some may consider useless or poorly designed that were really just there to add flavor for those who wanted it. And even endgame raids in Classic WoW like Molten Core didn't feel as immediately pressing to complete as soon as you could. I mean, there wasn't always a world-ending catastrophe just on the other side if you didn't hurry up and progress through the raid. In modern WoW, there is a greater emphasis on the critical path and on progression for the sake of story, and in a sense, I get it. You have to keep the players engaged, you have to keep the stakeholders happy, and you need to constantly have high stakes. Unfortunately, Blizzard already crossed the border of highest stakes of all time with the Shadowlands expansion and the universe-ending Jailer. I mean, how can you create another engaging story without putting the universe at stake again? But
Yeah, I remember playing WoW originally and going through the Defias Brotherhood questline. And it's an early questline. It's not meant to be this overbearing thing, but it's very involved. And you wind up infiltrating a like hideout of bandits. And every part of it feels like it builds on each other. It feels like a story that you want to complete because you're actually invested, not because suddenly the world's going to end and you are the champion to save everything. No, it's just there's a world going on and you're there to experience it.
But that's just the point for me. I don't want another universe-ending, world-ending, or even continent-ending storyline. I want a lived-in world with smaller, more meaningful bite-sized stories that are fun to explore. I don't want a fresh new continent where it feels like nobody's ever been there before. I want to feel as if I'm part of the world again, not the champion of Azeroth. I want to walk around and explore the corners of each zone and building, not for a reward or a secret, but for the fun of it. But the gaming landscape has changed. We don't need to talk using in-game chat anymore. Discord.
Yeah, you used to want to explore in case there was something. Now you know there's not.
It has a great interface, a bunch of communities, and it's easier than ever to voice chat with your friends. Back in the day, having a TeamSpeak or Vent server was a big deal, and having good enough internet to run that at the same time as playing World of Warcraft was an even bigger deal. Stereotypically nowadays, gamers are painted as these nitro-fueled, energy drink-chugging, RGB lighting enthralled adult children.
Honestly, I don't understand the RGB obsession. It was forced into the computer that I have now. But I leave my computer under my desk. I don't need a barrage of lights constantly just blasting my eyes for overstimulation.
And to pander to that stereotype, we need flashy games that pack a punch, and better pack one quick before your captive audience chooses one of a million other games promising the same thing. But there's another catch. They're all promising the same thing. How awesome would it be to finally have a World of Warcraft expansion or experience with a slower pace, a chiller vibe, and some good old fun exploration? And no, I'm not talking about the cozy game genre, which, side note, it's probably growing fast because more people are wanting that type of vibe, but I don't
Because people are burning out. They need a place for their energy to recharge, not to spend more of it.
want WoW to be a farming sim or an idle game. I would want the upcoming WoW expansions to feel like classic WoW and Season of Discovery in their pacing. Slowed down, less high stakes, less flashy lights, less progression systems, with more corners to explore, whether they're empty or not. I don't have a proposed solution, and I'm not saying by any means I hate World of Warcraft now or that I'm quitting retail. No, none of that. I just wanted to throw my hat and my feelings into the ring, and I'm sure some of you out there would feel the same. I still like to just sit on the cliffs of Thunderbluff and look out on Mulgore. I still like to hear the music of Elwyn Forest and Stormwind as I'm strolling through. And sometimes, even as a heroic raider in Dragonflight, I still like to RP walk.
The classic RP walk. Yeah, I mean, granted, you do the walk in every game because you want to feel like you're just part of the world. You do. It's like when you play Grand Theft Auto and you try and follow the rules. You're like, I'm not going to run any red lights, things like that. Like, you want to feel immersed. You don't want to feel bombarded. And I feel like so many games nowadays forget that, especially retail WoW. I mean, Blizzard kind of started forgetting it with classic WoW, and then they realized, oh, we're starting to go down the same path. We should probably stop doing that. I'm kind of surprised they came to that realization, and I'm still worried that they're just going to go back. But I miss retail, or the classic WoW experience. And the last time I played classic WoW, they still hadn't even implemented all of the features that were originally in WoW. So I'm not sure if they've updated it, but I miss exploring games. I miss when I didn't have to be optimized in a game. And I sure as hell miss being able to play a game as a new player and not feel like I'm going to get absolutely wrecked because somebody has been practicing 12 hours a day every day for 3 months and the game just came out a month ago somehow.